Welcome to Grandpa Hill's True Stories. These stories are for my children, my grandchildren, and all children. In the summer of 1989 in Minnesota, with 4 young children, we had decided to homeschool our children. This was a huge decision. Underpinning it, supporting it, was another decision and action that turned out to be crucial to our success in homeschooling. And on that day that we took that action, our children left us. I hope you enjoyed the story. It is one of the best things that ever happened to me. We had had a meeting the night before. It was like a parent meeting with children, explaining to them, what we're about and what the future's going to be like. And this was on Friday night. And on Friday night, it was clear that we were going to turn off the TV. We were turning off the TV, not because it was evil or bad or anything like that, but that it was a distraction. It was going to weaken our efforts in homeschooling. It was 1989. We were in Savage, Minnesota, and we were going to start homeschooling that fall. So now it's like August or late July, and we are going to turn off the TV. And having 4 children, very obedient, wonderful children. So the oldest of the children was 10 years old. And the youngest was 4. And the oldest wasn't real excited about homeschooling because she'd miss her friends. And the second was like, yeah, the TV can go off because I'm really looking forward to homeschooling. And Amy and Rebecca, well, they were like not influential per se, but they were coming along. So we had our meeting and we discussed this, and the TV was going to go off. And they were really, I'd say pretty agreeable. They understood this is where we're going. This is what we're going to get done. So we all go to bed and we all wake up. Or when I wake up, Grandma, Mary Lee, she's still asleep. And I get up and it's pretty quiet. In fact, it's really quiet. So I go into the girls' room, just tap on the door, go in. There's no girls in there. 3 girls. They're all gone. I go to Brian's room. He's gone too. Okay, I've got work to do. I realize that they've probably been watching the TV quietly or at a neighbor's or something. So I go downstairs to where the TV is, in the basement, in a closet. So it wouldn't be too tempting for me either. Because I sure like to watch the Minnesota Twins play baseball. But they weren't downstairs. I felt the back of the TV thinking, this TV's going to be warm because they heard me wake up And then these kids ran off and did something else. But these wonderful children of mine, of ours, had left us. Because when I went to neighbors, and I went up the street, and I went down the street, and all through the yards, and over to the park, there were no children. There was no goodbye note. There was no I'm running away from home. There's none of that stuff going on. Just a shock. Well, after a search of like another 10 or 15 minutes, I found them, our children. You have to go to the backyard. You have to go down a steep wooded incline. And then you have to go down to the railroad tracks. And then you have to go down the railroad tracks. And there are our children, laughing and playing and living. They're doing exactly what we were told our children would do. You turn off the TV, they'll enjoy being with each other, they'll do things together, and life will be better for you and for your homeschool. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't upset that they didn't tell me when they were going. I was upset, but I forgot about being upset because it was like a little miracle to see what was happening. And I fast forward that a few years later, maybe a year and a half, 2 years later, when we were in Pennsylvania, and we were at a conference, a homeschooling conference, and we were having our doubts about our ability to do homeschooling of these children. And I speak to a priest, a Catholic priest that was at the conference, also interested in homeschooling. And I tell him what our situation is, and he asked me one question. He said, do you or your children watch the TV? And we said, no, we don't. And then he said, if you love your children and you don't watch TV, you will make it. That is, you'll do okay. And of course, there's other things you can do to do better and better with your homeschooling, which we did. They said it is so important in his findings to have the TV off. And that's the story about when our children left us. But they left us for that one morning because they had done some thinking. They've done a lot of laughing, and then they were living. It was the most beautiful thing we could have ever given to our kids. Shalom.